give it to Paul.
Okay. I do not believe my report was attached. You should have gotten one handed out. It should be in the council packet. So for the month of August, a lot of pavement maintenance activities were happening. We completed the chip sealing area in what we call our Area 8. We went and divided the entire city out in relatively 12 equal areas. And so Area 8 was the West Side Industrial Park, pretty much everything from 17th Avenue to the west of the city limits, north of the railroad tracks, and then out in the Condo Drive area. So if there was some streets that were reconstructed in the last 6 or 7 years, those areas weren't done, but everything else should have been completed unless there's going to be some other street maintenance activities that are going to happen on there in the future. So that was chip sealed the week of August 11th, and then the week following, then the excess chips would have been swept up, and then actually just this last week on Wednesday, I believe, it was swept for the second time. People in those areas will notice that there'll be, still continuing loose chips for the travel. While that's happening is that if a stone is, slightly embedded or not completely embedded into the oil, it'll work itself through with people traveling on it and stuff like that. And then again, with the plowing snow on it. So there's no sorts of failures or anything like that. Also in the month of August, we completed 3 of our pavement replacement projects. Those projects were over on 13th Street South from Chestnut to Daly, East G Street from 13th to 16th, and then Park and 13th Avenue. It started off of 2nd Avenue across from Lions Park parking lot, and then that ended at the south dead end of 13th Avenue. So that work there has also been done. Then just continuing, once we got through that, continue to hammer out our catch basin maintenance. I believe we also had a sanitary sewer that we had to replace for a resident on 13th Street for the wastewater treatment plant. And so that restoration work will be commencing as well. Our construction crew continues to move forward. Obviously, our season is coming. The light is at the end of the tunnel for completion. So everything as far as underground work was completed on 14th Avenue in the month of July. McKinley Street, we are now working in the area of 11th Avenue and Canal. And those are the totals that have taken us to get to that point there. And we continue to trudge to the east from 11th Avenue to 10th Avenue here in the weeks coming. Our sign shop, there was some vacations that took place for that work group, but they helped us out with the chip sealing process to have enough people to flag traffic. We continued to paint Centerline, and then also got all the crosswalks painted before school started. The shop had nothing major this month that we can recall. Just kind of doing routine maintenance on vehicles, service work on Fridays with garbage trucks and things like that. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions, comments?
Just a comment for me. I was in the area where the chip sealing was done on Condo there, Paul, as you know. Very efficient process. And I realize, the loose gravel can be a bit of a nuisance for some folks, but at the end of the day, this process really extends the life of our roads. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to accomplish here. 8.5 miles of road that was, essentially, repurposed or reinforced is only going to help us down the road to maintain and get that number up for our street construction or reconstruction. So, thank you.
Yeah, and that was kind of the thought process of creating these areas is you go into an area and people consider chip sealing an inconvenience, right? Because they don't want to drive on the loose gravel. They don't want to drive around the oil and things like that, because the perception is that, oh, you put oil down today, it's gonna get on my tire and it's gonna get in my driveway, it's gonna get on my vehicle. It's only gonna happen if you drive through the oil, which we don't try to let people to do that, you know, and so by going through and creating these areas, we're coming in and we're inconveniencing you for that 1 year, and then we won't see you hopefully for 12 years, you know, so by doing that, it created a lot of efficiencies because everything is in that area. There's no driving from the east side to the west side, taking 20 minutes at 8 miles an hour for the rollers and the chip spreader to travel. You know, everything is there. And for 7.5 hours a day, they're spraying oil and putting chips down. So our cost per square yard has gone down probably by 30%. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll say, I mean, it's roughly about a mile in my neighborhood, maybe a little bit more. And I think they were in and out of there in 4 hours in the initial installation process, you know, so very efficient. And like you said, the street sweeping that was done after, you know, it was very clean. So I was impressed with that. So thank you.
All right, moving on to the engineering department monthly report.
Thank you. For the month of August, the engineering department issued 20 permits and licenses. I do have a correction to make on the Dares hotline locates. We had 186 locates in August rather than the 272, which was last month's number, with 3 emergency locates, 1 being outside of the normal business hours. With the design for our current designs for future projects, the 2nd Street North project is nearly complete. We've also made some initial strides with the East Jackson Street project, as well as the Riverwall rehab project, which we should be submitting our permit application here likely within the next week or two, certainly in the month of September, to the Wisconsin DNR. The Apricot Street project, that's currently at 70% design. Again, we plan to have that by the end of September, have that nearly complete. Pepper Avenue water main, in the month of September, we also plan to have that design finalized and ready to submit to the DNR for the water extension permit. And then we've started on the Clean Water Fund sewer lining project. We have an application deadline of September 30th, so we've been working towards that through the month of August, and you know, we'll finalize that here in the next month. As far as surveys, we did complete the 16th Street Peach to Oak Street preliminary survey for that design project. And we're gearing up for some survey on the 48th Street project, which is largely a pavement replacement on Commerce Drive. We will do some intersection improvements there with curb radiuses and such, and that's largely what we'll be picking up survey on. As far as the projects that involve grants, the 8th Street and Wood Avenue Highway Safety Improvement Project began work September 2nd. So that'll be ongoing here for the next roughly 30 days or so. And with that, that concludes the highlights of the monthly report.
Any questions, comments? All right, moving on to item 3, review the 2025 construction project status report. Joe?
So the updated report wasn't in the original packet. We did provide it on Tuesday. And so it goes through August 17th. And one of the corrections that we noted from the time we met last month was that beginning in 2025, we put curb and gutter costs in to be paid for out of the stormwater utility. And initially, so the first 2 project reports that you've seen, they still had those costs associated under the street construction fund. The contract portions have been pulled out and moved into the storm utility fund, so they're accounted for appropriately. The only thing that we maybe still need to go back and address is staff time, labor time for staking the curb and gutter, inspecting the curb and gutter, any of those other associated curb and gutter costs that should get relocated from the street construction fund to the storm utility fund.
Thank you, Joe. Question? Everyone's good? Great. Moving on to item 4, discuss the creation and development of a citywide master sidewalk plan.
So I could run through briefly again and kind of reintroduce the item, or?
Sure, I can
Okay.
introduce it. So this was my referral that was brought up last month initially, and we talked about the idea of creating a citywide master sidewalk plan. The logic behind it was that we've seen a number of requests from engineering to have sidewalks removed in front of houses, and we always have the same questions. Are they going to be connected? Will they be connected, or are they just kind of remnants of a sidewalk that got put in and we never continued the project? I think having a master plan of where our existing sidewalks are will help us maintain them and keep residents informed about when we will maintain them, and then have those areas where sidewalk exists that is outside of the map for where we plan to have sidewalk in the future easily identifiable. So when we come up with those pieces to be removed, that we can not ask the same question every time. We decided we wanted to move forward, and then Joe developed a plan or a draft.
So yeah, there is a conceptual summary of kind of what the master sidewalk plan could look like. And it's really all about, you know, installing sidewalk at the right place for the right reasons, and making sure that those dollars are being spent appropriately. And, you know, that the residents then are seeing realizing the benefits of sidewalk being in areas that actually need it. And so with that, you know, the biggest piece is an overall map document that has a lot of planning efforts put into it, so that areas that our current ordinance and policies would say, no, this wouldn't normally have sidewalk, but through the planning effort, hey, but this is actually a route that people are actually using because it connects two land uses. And so, you know, that's on one end where we'd install sidewalk. The other end would be that we have sidewalk in areas that, you know, they're on the outskirts or low corner subdivision of the city that, you know, largely don't need sidewalk in those areas. You know, and so when we go to reconstruct that street or maintain that sidewalk, that those decisions are kind of, you know, already built into the overall sidewalk plan.
I really appreciate the idea of having the official street map with the sidewalk map available to be able to see. I didn't catch exactly which ordinances, or I got lost in our book of ordinances on where we currently have anything related to the development or construction of sidewalk outside of new properties. Which ordinance would we need to revise if
So-
we wanted to implement?
Chapter 6, Streets
Okay.
and Sidewalks, would be the ordinance that would address everything related to sidewalks that we currently have, specifically section, Municipal Code 456. I think it's section 6.04, procedure for construction or repair. And a copy of that is on the back side of, or on the flip side of the conceptual summary.
Thank you. So that's the ordinance in chapter 6 that we would modify to include the new items on the conceptual summary.
Yes,
Okay.
yep. Generally, trying to incorporate some sort of map document that helps to augment the, I guess, the 5 criteria that are listed here, you know, in the current ordinance that, you know, based on the street classification, if it's part of a school route, if it's adjacent to certain zoning, you know, properties that are zoned a certain way, or have a zoning designation, R3 or business, commercial type zone. And then also trying to address some of the, you know, the 50% complete situations where we have areas of a block that have sidewalk, but then a bunch is missing.
Thank you.
Modifying the ordinance to incorporate some sort of map document could fill in all the gaps that are currently missing in the text.
Any other questions? Anything stand out? Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I appreciate the work done with this. I mean, you know, ultimately what we're trying to do is clarify and make the lives of our engineering team easier with something like this. Joe, is your intention to kind of add sidewalk to our interactive map with this at all? Or is that something, I'm just thinking, like, I know we do some sidewalk maintenance at times and things like that. I don't know if that's ever really identified or called out to the public.
So so we do have digital maps, you know, CAD related maps with sidewalk, as with our official street map too. Certainly we could add that easily to you know, the city view or the GIS mapping component so that that's made available that way.
Would you see value in that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yep, certainly, you know, property owners, they could search their address and get right to that location in the map versus panning around trying to find which street, which block they're on and where their house is located.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it makes sense. So if that's something we can tack on to, you know, what we're looking at here tonight, I think that would be wise. So that's all I've got.
Anything else? Anybody else?
Makes sense to me what he came up with here. It kind of covers all the bases.
Do you need a motion, Joe, to move forward with revising the ordinance?
It wouldn't hurt, just that the committee approves moving forward with the conceptual summary. Obviously, as we go through it, there's going to be more approvals that are needed, you know, ordinances and such. But at least then there's a good basis to move forward on.
Is there anything in the conceptual summary that we would like removed before we get to revising the ordinance? Okay. Then I will make the motion to revise Chapter 6, Streets and Sidewalks, as outlined, to include the items outlined in the Master Sidewalk Plan conceptual summary.
I'd second that.
Motion by Palmquist, second by Penscover. Mr. Pollock.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairperson. Would it be possible if a person wanted to install their own sidewalk, I suppose at their own cost, should that maybe be in this policy? Or is there a reason not to put it in there?
So currently, that's standard practice. Homeowner can pour the sidewalk adjacent to their property or their driveway. They can't do any curb work that needs to be done by a licensed contractor. I mean, we could call it out that way. I'll have to check the ordinance. It might already be in there. But we can revisit that, and make sure that it's addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it 3-0. Item 5, review and consider the proposal from Link Things for the Predictive Mobility Project funded through the Wisconsin DOT's CRP program. Joe?
So you may recall in 2022, the city pursued a rail relocation feasibility study. And one of the options that was identified in that study was, all of the options were ways to mitigate train delays for drivers. One of those was to use this predictive mobility technology. And the engineering department applied for a DOT grant. It was a carbon reduction grant that I think was funded through the bipartisan infrastructure law. And I don't know of anybody else that used that grant to, towards a project like this. But we did receive funding for that. And we've been working with the DOT to get through the environmental documents and whatever other reviews they had. This was deemed to be a proprietary type of product, so there wasn't the requirement to go through a public bid sort of situation. We just had to solicit a proposal, and that proposal is attached in this document. And so the DOT at this point has authorized the city to award the project at its discretion. The grant it's an 80-20 cost share, and we were awarded $548,000 for the project. The city would be responsible for $109,600, or the balance. So that would be, one of the criteria here is up to that amount, and currently our proposal is at $510,000 from Link Things to provide the predictive mobility technology. And it should be noted that there are some costs in there for electrical allowances to get power to some of these locations. So there's going to be sensor modules and message board signs that are installed. Some of them are solar, some of them have regular AC power to them. So there's an allowance in there for to get power to some of these locations. That number is somewhat gray yet. It kind of all depends on the exact location where the sensors and message boards are placed. But considering that, if the city's intent is to continue to move forward with the project, that we would recommend awarding the project to Link Things in the amount of $510,000 with the authorization to spend only up to the grant amount of $548,000, just to provide flexibility with those cost allowances for electric.
Joe, once the technology is installed, is there additional cost yearly to access the software or platform or continue to use?
So it comes with a 3-year warranty, and it covers all parts and labor to keep it running. It does come with the app as well. At the end of the 3 years, there is a contract renewal. What that looks like, I guess I don't have specifics on that.
Okay. Anyone else have questions, comments, concerns?
Well, that was a great question, and I think it, it behooves us to find out what that contract looks like, after the 3-year term. But as you may know, I've been an advocate for this from the beginning. This kind of stemmed from our conversations about, the issues with the West Side Rail in particular, and in the discussions with an overpass or an underpass and rail relocation. This was one option that came before us that, you know, in my mind, the most important thing here is the communication about rail traffic to our public safety, to our EMTs, to our fire department, to our PD. I think, you know, a lot of us have seen or heard about ambulances waiting at the train crossing, you know, and how critical a situation like that could be. I think the studies that we've done show that, you know, 99 or 95% of the time there's an alternate rail that can be used, or a crossing that can be used, as long as we have that notice. And that's the signboards that you're talking about, Joe. You don't have to have the app. We'd actually have a physical sign stating, you know, use certain location crossing to get around the train. I assume it would be something along those lines, or arrows or something like that.
Yeah, we did do some, I guess, further review of that. We're somewhat hesitant on exactly how we phrase the signage along, say, the expressway, so connecting highways that would divert state highway traffic onto local roads. And so it will still provide a notice to drivers and everybody locally, and we can post it on our website and try to get that out to anybody that's interested that comes across it. But everybody locally would have access to and knowledge of the fact that, okay, this is what this is, and this is where I should go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I think that would help alleviate a lot of the issues that arise when we have some trains that are at these crossings for an extended period of time, and it happens, you know, throughout the year. You know, maybe it goes in waves, but it happens consistently. So I'm all for this. I think it was discussed previously, funding-wise. You know, potentially, you know, we're on the hook for $110,000 on this after you take away the grant dollars. And I know this has been listed as a project and on our TID list as well. So I would anticipate, you know, potentially, you know, dipping into those funds here. So I'd like to make a motion to approve, I guess, the continuance or the pursuit of the predictive mobility and the installation of it.
Would you want to modify that slightly to award the proposal to Link Things?
Yes, and to award the proposal to Links and Things.
I'll second with a question. This is within our TID district, which will be, we have funds allocated from the TID to pay the 100 and some odd thousand that we have outlined.
That's
And-
correct.
And at this point, we don't have any way to revise that funding. So if we chose not to award this, we essentially don't have any other project that could use those funds.
Yeah, I guess it would just be subject to those other projects that are set to be started. If they're more expensive than what we anticipated, you know, that's where, you know, some of those funds could go to cover those increases if there are such things.
And then this would go to council at the end of this month. Do you think you'd have a rough cost of how much per year we would pay after the 3 years to continue the contract?
Yep, I'll find that out as soon as possible, and then I will send an email to the committee, council.
Thank you. Then we have a motion by Austin, second by Palmquist. Any other questions, comments?
I was initially opposed to this. I don't like the $109,000 price tag. But after listening to Ryan's explanation, I guess it does shed a different light on it. You know, the safety issues and that, and the TID money and all that. So I've changed my mind. I would be for this. It makes sense.
Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Ayes have it, 3-0. Item 6, review the referral list. I would like to add comments or circle back to the items that we've discussed on the referral list. It stood out to me that we've got one of those items. I'm looking for the list now. One of those items that we had discussed and then moved back to the referral list. So item 7, we have a note on that one saying that it was discussed on this date, there was no action taken, and that it remains on the list. I think having those notes for the remaining items would be helpful for the public to understand that we have discussed the A Street DOT projects and that we will return to them, or there was no action taken and we will return to that at a later date. And then these other items as well, if discussion took place on them and we moved them back to the referral list, it would be ideal to have those notes and comments.
We'll add those in.
Thank you. If there is anything that's on the list that truly hasn't been discussed, I would appreciate it coming to our next meeting so that we don't have outstanding items on our referral list for 2 years. Any other comments, questions, concerns on the referral list?
I may have something coming here in September. Just received notification through our recycling grant that we have to put out that the state of Wisconsin is requiring us to do some updating to not just us specifically, but all municipalities update the ordinances. So Sue and I have started on that already, so we may have something for the committee to approve in September, worst case October.
Thank you, Paul. All right, set next meeting date. The first Thursday following the first Tuesday puts us at October 9th. It does not look like anyone is in council chambers at that time. Any objection to October 9th, 5 p.m.?
Good with me?
Great, October 9th, 5 p.m. That moves to item 8, meeting adjourns at 5:32 p.m. Thank you, have a good night.